104.3 on FM. Music and talk. Nice and easy.
Good evening. This is the PBS Network News. Today, September 24, 2013. In the news, the Department of Public Works and Highways will be looking into the cause of severe flooding and landslides in Subic, Zambales, which claimed the lives of at least 19 people. Some local authorities in Subic have been reported to have said that the cause of the flooding is the lack of dredging and flood control projects there. Subic Mayor Jefferson Kong Hoon says the monsoon rains caused rivers to swell. He stressed that the river dredging assistance is badly needed in his town, as the flooding have been observed to become worse each passing year. Officials from the Mines and Geosciences Bureau of the DNR had said the areas affected by the landslides were unstable and no longer habitable. Around 100 to 200 families from several barangays in Subic, including Calapacuan, Wawandue, and Santo Tomas, were displaced amid flooding brought by heavy monsoon rains. Malacanang says the national government is not playing favorites in providing assistance to calamity victims. The palace dismissed as unfounded critics' claims that only provinces whose leaders are allied with the administration get help during times of calamities. Marie Ruiz has more.
Deputy Presidential Spokesperson Abigail Valte was responding to observations that the government immediately sent a C-130 to Batanes to bring relief goods, while Subic, Zambales, which was severely affected by monsoon rains, was not immediately attended to. Valte said Subic is already being assisted. In the meantime, Public Works Secretary Rogelio Singson is already looking into the situation in Subic following the mayor's complaint that the severe floods were caused by the non-dredging of the Calaklan River. Valte said the government will also check if the floods were due to alleged black sand mining and illegal mining operations. Marie Peña Ruiz for PBS News.
Malacanang confirms that the Office of the Solicitor General has filed a motion before the Supreme Court to lift its temporary order on the Priority Development Assistance Fund and the Malampaya Funds. Marie Ruiz has this story.
Deputy Presidential Spokesperson Abigail Valte said the OSG filed the motion on behalf of the Office of the President, the Department of Budget and Management, and the House of Representatives. The OSG asked the High Court to lift or partially lift the TRO because President Aquino has officially declared that he will abolish the PDAF and that budget reforms are underway. As for the Malampaya Fund, the OSG said these are subjected to transparency and accountability measures even if these are off-budget funds. Valte said President Aquino is using the Malampaya Fund judiciously and as stated by law, which is for energy-related projects. Valte said the palace backs the House of Representatives' contention on the partial lifting of PDAF, especially for scholarships of students. The palace official pointed out that the second semester is upcoming and the scholars whose education is funded by Congressman's PDAF may be affected. Marie Peña Ruiz for PBS News.
Senator T.G. Gingona compels Justice Secretary Leila de Lima to bring with her the whistleblowers in their next hearing on the pork barrel scam on Thursday. Gingona, who chairs the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee, scolded de Lima for not presenting additional whistleblowers in today's hearing. Jojo Ismael with this report.
In today's hearing, Justice Secretary Leila de Lima told Gingona that she did not bring the whistleblowers with her because they will also stand as witnesses before the Ombudsman on the same issue, and that their appearance before the committee might preempt the Ombudsman's inquiry. Gingona refused to accept the reasons given by the Justice Secretary as he bared that he is issuing subpoenas to compel the whistleblowers to be present on the next hearing set for Thursday. Among those whistleblowers to be subpoenaed by the committee include Ben Harloy, Gertrudis Loy, Marina Sula, and Medina Sonia. For PBS News, George Ismael, Senate.
In the meantime, Malacanang is unhappy the way the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee treated Justice Secretary Leila de Lima at the Senate hearing on the pork barrel scam this morning. Marie Ruiz with this report.
Malacanang backs the position taken by Justice Secretary Leila de Lima in invoking the provisions of the Ombudsman Law for not allowing whistleblowers to attend the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee hearing on the pork barrel scam. The committee's chair, Senator T.G. Gingona, criticized de Lima, saying she was diminishing the powers of the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee. Deputy Presidential Spokesperson Abigail Valtes said the Justice Secretary had no intention to belittle the Senate. She pointed out that de Lima went to the Senate to explain her position. Under the Ombudsman law, once cases have been filed, there should be no trial by publicity. Valtes said the Justice Secretary cannot be the first to violate an existing law. The palace official said de Lima should not have been shabbily treated by Gingona. She assures that the executive branch will always cooperate with the Senate's hearings. Marie Peña Ruiz for PBS News.
The Ombudsman says it is not advisable for Janet Lim Napoles to be summoned by the Blue Ribbon Committee on its hearing on the pork barrel scam. Ombudsman Conchita Carpio Morales argued that Napoles' appearance in the Senate probe would not produce, at this stage, complete and reliable information that legislation intends to affect or change. The Ombudsman also said that inviting Napoles to the inquiry may just be an exercise in futility, since the controversial businesswoman has publicly denied involvement in the alleged scam. Morales further asserted the authority of her office to determine what cases may not be made public. The bicameral committee has approved a bill postponing the Sangguniang Kabataan elections originally scheduled for October this year. Jojo Ismael has more.
Under the approved version of the bill, the holding of the SK elections, originally set on October 20th this year, has been reset to a date to be determined by the Commission on Elections, COMELEC, between October 28, 2014 and February 23, 2015. The final version of the measure was lifted from the House-approved measure that incumbent SK officials will no longer qualify for an extended term or beyond October 28, 2013. Meanwhile, Senator Bongbong Marcos, chair of the Senate Local Government Committee, said that the budget intended for the SK, which is 10% of the internal revenue allotment of the barangay, will be rechanneled to the youth development programs of the barangay. For PBS News, George Ismael, Sun.
The remaining 9 teachers used by rebels of the Bangsamoro Islamic Freedom Fighters, or BIFF, as human shields against government troops were freed early today. BIFF forces mounted attacks in Midsayap, North Cotabato yesterday and initially took 13 teachers and pupils as hostages. Midsayap Mayor Romeo Aranya said the 9 teachers were abandoned by fleeing BIFF members at the fish landing area of Barangay Malingao this morning. Colonel Dixon Hermoso of the 6th Infantry Division in Maguindanao said at least 3 soldiers and 2 civilians were killed in the violence. 7 BIFF gunmen were also killed in the clashes. In the meantime, one of the civilians abducted by Bangsamoro Islamic Freedom Fighters was beheaded by the rebels. Alvin Baltasar with this report.
A civilian who was abducted by the members of the Bangsamoro Islamic Freedom Fighter yesterday was found dead today in Barangay Malingao, Midsayap, North Cotabato. Colonel Randolph Cabangbang, spokesman of the Philippine Army, identified the victim as Ricardo Diono, whose body was recovered at Sitio Babona, Barangay Agriculture at 6 this morning. According to Cabangbang, only the head of the victim was recovered, which they found out to had also sustained a gunshot. Diono was abducted yesterday by the BIFF while was just walking in Barangay Malingao. Alvin Baltasar for PBS News.
Malacanang strongly condemns the BIFF's beheading of a farmer hostage in Midsayap, North Cotabato. Marie Ruiz with this report.
Deputy Presidential Spokesperson Abigail Valtes said the act is cruel and inhuman. Valtes said this act of the BIFF will be met with the fullest force of the law. The palace official leaves it to security forces to evaluate whether to tag the BIFF as a terrorist group. Valtes reminded the military and police to implement target hardening measures to avoid violent incidents in areas of concern. Marie Peña Ruiz for PBS News.
Another military officer has died from gunshot wounds he sustained during a clash with MNLF gunmen in Zamboanga City. Army spokesman Colonel Randolph Cabangbang says First Lieutenant Francis Damian of the Light Reaction Company succumbed to his wounds this morning. Damian, a graduate of PMA Class 2007, is the third military officer killed as the Zamboanga crisis entered its 16th day. First Lieutenant John Christopher Rama was the first military officer killed in a sniper fire, and just yesterday, Army Second Lieutenant Michael Meneses became the second officer to have died in the clashes. In other news, officials of the United Nations recognized the Philippines and other ASEAN member states' contribution to peacekeeping. Melanie Valdos with the details.
During the first Association of Southeast Asian Nation United Nations senior official meeting held in Permanent Mission of Brunei Darussalam to the United Nations in New York, which the country actively participated, Foreign Affairs Undersecretary for Policy Eva Garcia expressed satisfaction over ASEAN-UN cooperation being implemented under the ASEAN-UN Comprehensive Partnership Declaration of 2011. Undersecretary Garcia highlighted peacekeeping, human rights, and disaster risk management as areas in which ASEAN and the UN can further enhance their cooperation. Meanwhile, Undersecretary Garcia likewise expressed appreciation for UN assistance to the Philippines in the aftermath of natural disasters. Melanie Valdez reporting for PBS News.
In news abroad, the United Nations General Assembly's annual meeting starts tomorrow with a focus on talks between Iran's nuclear issue and the Syria crisis. Iran's Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif will meet with diplomats, including U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry, to discuss Iran's nuclear program. It will be the highest-level U.S.-Iran contact for more than 30 years. Kerry will also seek to iron out differences over Syria with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Earlier this month, Russia and the U.S. agreed a deal under the terms of which Syria's chemical weapons arsenal must be eliminated by mid-of 2014. However, differences have since emerged over whether or not the deal should be enforced by a UN resolution which would authorize sanctions and the use of force. And finally, in the news, Cambodia's parliament has approved a new 5-year term for long-serving Prime Minister Hun Sen, despite a boycott of the opposition over disputed elections. Hun Sen is expected to be sworn in today. His reappointment comes despite weeks of protests over alleged widespread cheating in the July polls. Official elections results show the Cambodian People's Party won 68 seats while the opposition garnered 55. The government has so far rejected the opposition's demand for an independent inquiry. And with that, we end the PBS Network News today, the 24th day of September 2013. I'm Maju Encomienda Ramos.
This is Business Radio.